Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Whatever the I Want podcast, where I, your host, Gabby, get to talk about whatever the I want. And today's episode is about how you live and you learn. It is so important to understand that every experience that you ever have is going to only teach you more about that experience. For example, if it is your first time mini golfing, you're probably not going to be good at it. But if you've been golfing your whole life and you've gone mini golfing 5 different times, then yeah, you'll probably be pretty good at it. And the reasoning behind all of this is because whenever you practice, you have made room for failure. And that is a big part of living and learning. It is about embracing failure and understanding that failure is only going to teach you and to show you that success is possible. Whenever Michael Jordan first picked up a basketball, he was not dunking it, right? He was probably a kid and he dreamed of being able to dunk the ball. And now he is a renowned basketball player. And so I think it's so important to understand that this also applies to life experiences. Sorry to say, but the first person you probably date is more than likely not going to be the person that you marry. It is what it is. It's not as common anymore, and most people now understand that relationships that you have are building blocks, and they teach you things about yourself and about other people. I'm not sure if you can hear the fire truck. And about other people in your life and how relationships work, and that sometimes, you might have to compromise about different things depending on the person. Relationships can teach you, do you have an anxious attachment style? Are you somebody who avoids situations? What is some of your childhood trauma? What are some of your triggers? Relationships teach you those things, and it is just really unrealistic to think that the first relationship that you're ever in is going to be the one that you marry. Of course, it is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. It is extremely possible. But at least speaking from experience with my previous relationships, they've taught me more about myself than really anything else can. I remember seeing something about like therapy can help you work through things and can give you tools, but it's not until you go out into the real world then and you start dating and you start having new jobs and things like that where you can put these things into action. Again, the first job that you ever have is probably not going to be the job that you end up at for the rest of your life, and that is okay, because you live and you learn from these mistakes, you learn from these experiences, and they teach you about who you are and what you're capable of. Your dream job is within reach. It is something that you can totally achieve. However, it is something that, you don't just climb the ladder, right? You don't just go on a hike and you're already there at the top of the mountain. That's just not the way life works. You slowly make your way up, and that is realistically how things go. A big reason why I say the older I get, the better I get, is because I feel like I have spent more time with myself. I've dated myself more, and I have more of an idea of who I am, of how I react to things. I've learned from my experiences. The first time that I went into the gym, getting back into the gym was maybe a year and a half ago. And I was picking up 20-pound weights, and I'm thinking in my head, 20 pounds, easy peasy. Then I would actually pick up the weight and I'm like, fuck, this is heavy. I can't do this. This is just way, way too heavy. Do they have anything less than the 10 pounds? Because I didn't have that strength, right? I hadn't built anything. And that is a part of life. You got to build, you got to create these stepping stones in order for you to reach the top of the mountain. And now I can pick up 20-pound weights, easy peasy. I am even sometimes picking up 35-pound dumbbells for certain exercises. And it's because I have practiced and I have shown up and I've been consistent. And that is applied to anything in your life. And so if you're experiencing a breakup, if you're experiencing a loss, if you're experiencing a job transition, know that these positions that you are in right now, know that these experiences that you're having right now are only going to bring you out of the opposite side even stronger. And so now I don't see things as mistakes. You know, I remember when I was getting tattoos, people are like, you're going to regret them, whatever. And I'm like, no, they show me who Gaby was at 18 years old. What were the things that she liked? You know, like she was all for $13 tattoos on Friday the 13th. And, you know, it's just like, let's just get a cool $13 tattoo versus like, am I going to love this on my body forever? And I still love my tattoos, but, you know, those are things that you learn throughout life. I've had to live those experiences and then I've learned from them, you know, like you just got to live a little, and it's okay to try new things. It's okay to put yourself out there. It's okay to fall, and it's okay if people watch you fall, right? Like it, I used to like get in my head a lot if I'd, you know, like pick up a heavy weight and then I'm like, oh, can't do that, put it back. I used to care a lot about what people thought about me or how I was perceived. And I would just get in my head and be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, you know, or like, you know, say you're holding your phone with your friends and then it falls onto your face and then you're just like, oh my gosh, so embarrassing. Or, you know, I remember like, it's just so weird. Like even having to like pee in front of like, or like telling, like asking somebody, like if you've never used a bathroom before and being like, hey, can I use your bathroom? I used to get really embarrassed by like asking like, hey, can I use your bathroom? And I am now like, what the fuck? Like if I have to pee, I have to pee. Like it sounds so ridiculous. And I mean, like we're all humans and we all experience embarrassment at some point in our lives and we all get embarrassed by very different things. And I guess now I'm thinking about it. Now I know why I was embarrassed about those things. I have had some experiences of people walking in on me using the bathroom and super embarrassing, but you know, I guess maybe that's where that fear comes from. So yeah, I think it's just important to know and understand that along with every other human out there, you know, you see artists put out songs and they're figuring out their style. You know, a dancer is maybe they don't do ballet their entire life, right? Maybe they start off doing ballet and that's just what their parents put them in, but then, you know, now they're in like doing Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance, right? That's like not like ballet at all, but it starting ballet is what brought them to know that that is what they wanted to pursue. And so I think it's really important to just embrace learning. Learning is so cool. I love learning. I truthfully, anything that I don't know, at least if it's something I'm interested in, like physics, all that stuff, like I'm not particularly interested in. But like if it's something I'm like, oh, well, why does, you know, what is this state's flower? You know, like something like that I might be interested in. So I'll ask, I'll Google, I'll research. And so I think that that's also a big part of it is like, don't stop learning. Don't stop going about your life and having this eagerness or this desire or this interest in life. Like, don't just remain here and be like, yeah, it's okay. I know what I know. And that's all that I should ever know. Be willing to learn. Be willing to be a beginner. You know, it is okay to pick up pottery classes for the first time in your life and you're 65 and you're going to be a novice, and that's okay. I have considered taking dancing lessons nearby. I really wish they had, you know, like hip hop or salsa or merengue near me, but I'm not in a very Hispanic community. Like I'm not living in a very large Hispanic community, so that's just not available to me. But they do have like tap dancing and like Irish dancing and it's, you know, I'm just like, well, if I were to go, it's funny because in the pictures on their website it's like all kids and I'm like, I wonder if they would even allow for me to be there. I did take it was only once, I think I took an adult ballet class that was fun. It is something that I could see myself doing, but it's not something that I'm like actively like, oh, I really want to do this, right? It's kind of like, oh, this is okay. Like I could see myself doing it versus like I really really want to do this. I really want to sign up for classes. And that's just a part of just dipping your toes into the water, of just trying things. It's really important to try things. For the longest time, I hated olives. I remember going to Spain with my mom and she got this big ass bag of olives and I was like, ugh, like I tried one and I was like, why would you eat that? Disgusting. Like I might have even spit it out because it was just like very, very bitter. And I worked a job where I was with older people. I was the youngest one in the office. I was maybe like 21 at the time, and everybody else was like 30. And, you know, there were some people there who were like in their 50s and 60s and stuff. So they would have olives on their salads, and I would, you know, pick them out. And like, you don't like olives? Or like, just try them, just try them. And after I tried them, after so many times, like I kind of like, not necessarily forced myself to like them, but with trying them so many times, I eventually started to like them. And so same thing with beer. I remember when I first had beer, I was like, ugh, nasty. And then after a while, I was like, oh, beer's not so bad. Especially like the flavored beers. Like I used to like the like strawberry infused ones or stuff. Like I definitely was a fruity type of gal when it came to my drinks. And then I eventually made my way to Moscow Mules, and I would just love the refreshing taste of it all. I will get them non-alcoholic now if I'm at a restaurant and I'm feeling a little fancy. I will, you know, still treat myself to those things. And again, you live and you learn. I had to experience, sorry, mom and dad, blackout drunk nights, and it taught me that, wow, like alcohol is having a hold on me. You know, I had to gain a lot of weight from alcohol for me to realize, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't be drinking as much. Why don't I just try to live my life without it? And here I am now over a year without alcohol, and I'm like, oh, you know, like I could see myself introducing it back into my life, but I don't have this burning desire to. But I wouldn't have known that had I not gone through those experiences. And so I think that that's a big part of everything. It's just go out there, live your life, and allow yourself to learn from whatever opportunities it shows you. And if it shows you, wow, I really can't date, you know, I really can't date somebody who is like obnoxious, right? Or like I really, really can't date somebody, like for me, like I will say time and time again, I won't date somebody who is obsessed with soccer because I had a bad experience dating somebody who was obsessed with soccer. This person would cry watching soccer games, would get up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to watch games that were overseas. And I'm like, I can't date somebody who's that big of a soccer fan, or maybe even any sports teams fans. Like if you're an adult crying over a sporting event, like that's just not for me. You know, there's somebody out there for you, but it's not going to be me. But I wouldn't have known that had I not gone through that experience. So don't allow for these experiences to make you feel down, to make you feel like, why the fuck did I do that? You know, I don't necessarily believe in regrets. I don't think that you can go about life like just thinking about the past and being like, wow, I really regretted that. Are there some things in my life where I'm like, really, Gabby, we had to go through that. We had to, like, you really had to do this. And it's like, you know, I wouldn't be the person I am now without those experiences. And so I'm not going to sit here and beat myself up about decisions that 19-year-old Gabby made, that 23-year-old Gabby made, that 15-year-old Gabby made. You know, like I had to learn how to, you know, how to grow from these things. I remember my mom telling me that there was a little girl in my preschool. Keep in mind, I'm in preschool. I'm like 4 years old. And there was a girl at my school who wore the same jacket every day. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, why does she wear the same jacket every day? And she said that she had to sit down and have a conversation with me like, well, Gabby, not everyone is as fortunate as we are. And so that might be her only jacket. And so she she wears that jacket every day, you know, or maybe she just really likes that jacket and she wears it every day. But, you know, again, like that experience, you know, you don't think, oh, it's going to shape me into who I am. But now, you know, I unconsciously, subconsciously now know, okay, well, there's people who have different means, and it doesn't, who am I to judge, right? Who am I to sit here and to judge if somebody wears the same outfit every day? Who am I to judge if, you know, and I have family members who are teachers, and, you know, they talk about how, you know, with kids, you know, their hygiene can sometimes be affected by their households. And, you know, they have kids who don't have brushes at home, who, you know, might not have soap or body wash or things like that. And it's like, who am I to sit here and to judge? And my point of this is just that little experience that little 4-year-old Gaby had, it was a learning curve, right? It was something that I didn't know. And so, you know, my mom didn't approach me with like, well, you're dumb, like you're stupid, like why the fuck are you asking me this question? Like, instead she approached it with, well, let's offer you a different perspective. And I think that that's what life teaches you the older you get. It gives you perspective, because whenever you're in the midst of everything, you're like, my world is crashing down, it's crumbling, this breakup is the end of the world. And I have felt that way. And, you know, I remember my mom being like, you don't know what love is. And, you know, I'm like 13 and I'm like, I love him. And as an adult, you're like, girl, you didn't know what love was. You wanted to know what love was. You wanted to experience love. And so you were hoping that that's what it was. And it was probably just your hormones bouncing off the walls. But, you know, those experiences would not have happened if I didn't need them to. And they ended up teaching me so much about myself and about how I perceive things now. So just wait till you kind of get out of whatever rut you're in, and I promise you, you will see the silver lining to absolutely anything in your life. I'm not saying that there are excuses for terrible things happening to you. I highly recommend going to therapy and talking about those things if you do have some things that you need to work through. But what I am saying is that there are, you know, things that we can learn from our previous experiences. So I hope that this message resonated with somebody. I just got out of the gym and I was like, where do I film? It's kind of cold for me to just be outside. And so I was like, you know what? It feels good enough to be like in the vehicle, but like with the windows rolled down. But like for me to be entirely outside would be just a little bit too cold. But the sun is shining. I am so grateful to be alive. I feel a lot of positive things happening in my life, and I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm just really grateful for each and every one of you who's watched this podcast, who's listening to it on Spotify, on Apple. I've seen people using Castbox. I don't even know what Castbox is, but we have like 3% of users watching us on Castbox. I assume that that's a podcast platform. I should probably do some research on that. But thank you to the YouTube family and all of the subscribers. Thank you to everybody who's given this podcast a 5-star review. I don't even know how to describe the way that I feel. Almost like shock, like disbelief, and I'm just really excited to see where things go. I'm making a lot of progress in the artist way. I just feel very, very aligned and very happy with where I'm at in life. I just feel like I'm truly, truly trusting God and, you know, the universe and my angels. You know, I pray to them every day. And so I think life is just amazing. And I truly hope that your life feels as amazing as you are, because you are amazing. And thank you so much for being here, and I'll catch you in the next one. And today's episode is going to be about I already forgot what it's going to be about. I had written it down. Oh.